Here we go. And here we go for part two with team two. We've got Abby and a team coming up next. So we've just had a fantastic team go before us. And I'm sure that if this does make it onto the YouTube, that we're in for an absolute treat. Today's date is the 25th of November, 2022. And I'm going to hand over to you now, Abby. And as soon as I hear your voice, I will start the timer. And I do genuinely want to wish your team good luck. Good luck.
Okay, I just want to check that everyone can see the screen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today and granting the custom construction team the bid for the Bramley Road new entrance and car park. The meeting today will cover the construction of the proposed new entrance from Bramley Road in Tewkesbury, along with the new proposed offices car park. This car park will have 118 parking spaces in total, 10 of which are disabled parking bays, which are split between the north and west of the site. As you can see on this slide, we have included a copy of our certificate of public liability for 20 million UK pounds. I apologise that the document is not scanned very well, but we have included a copy of the information pack in front of you, and a copy of the pack has also been emailed out. This insurance certificate will also be displayed in the site welfare board, which is in the canteen. As you are already aware, we are Custom Construction Ltd, the efficient and British choice for any construction project. We won the fastest growing construction company from Fastest 50 in both 2018 and 2021, and we have a range of projects from car parks to new hospital in our portfolio.
Okay. As you're aware, part of our bid was we are basically a groundworks company, so we will be bringing in rolling tarmac to actually do the tarmacking and lay out the bays. They're much better than us. They have a lot of experience. We've worked with them for the last 5 years. We will supervise their work. We will manage their health and safety.
Okay. Just to introduce everyone to who's going to be working on this project, my name is Abigail and I'm the project manager for this project.
I'm Peter. I will be your site manager.
I'm Mohin. I will be your temporary work manager.
I'm Shoris. I'll be your environmental officer.
I'm Rosie, your health and safety officer.
I am Blerim. I am your site foreman for this project, Blerim Leshi.
We also have ground workers and site staff, which will be from the Just Out of Jail Recruitment Company, which is a local business to employ people who've just come out of jail and looking to rehabilitate. And all plant operators will be supplied by the hire company. Handing over to Mohill now to discuss our site plan.
So hi. So as you are aware, the site plan we made it for the beginning of the project, which we are planning to start the beginning of the January, which will take us almost 1 week to finish our temporary setup, which is welfare facility and the site arrangement. So as you can see in the plan, we have made this what you can say, we have provided our one-way system, which is the entry from the Bramley Road and the exit from the other side of the Holton Arch Road. So this arrangement we have done specially in consideration that we will not block the main road because if we so that from the as and when you enter this as in when you enter the site, I mean you will not block the main road traffic. As far as the welfare facility, we have opposite to, as in when you enter, we have an opposite side far and we have the site offices, which is and welfare facilities. So site offices, after that we have the area for the rest and the toilets, smoking areas, tools, storage, diesel depot, and all this all the material storage. Even we have the special storage for the course storage. We have covered the redundant factory with the Harris fence so that our workers because of our works there won't be any disturbance. Apart from that, the main hoarding will be 2.5 meter high, which will cover all the working area. And yeah, this is our site plan for the project. I'll move to next to my colleague.
Okay, guys. We're going to be using eco cabins. SOS provide them on wheels. so we won't be craning. These are nice little units. They're self-contained, own power supply, own water supply, own waste management on them. Now, SOS, we've got a full service contract. So once a week, they're going to arrive, they're going to clean, they're going to replenish. They will look after them for us. Let's go on to the next slide. Right. These site containers, as you're aware, are always a pain. So we put smoke alarms in them. We're going to keep them locked at all times. If you want a key, they'll have to come to the office. We're also putting alarms on them because they're always being broken into. These will also be on trailers if we can get away with it, but we might have to lift one in. I don't know. We're still talking to our company about this.
Okay, site security system is in place. As you can see, it's very important to have a 2-meter timber hoarding before you start work erected around perimeter checked daily. All entrances managed by a site security with checking our system personnel, vehicles and deliveries not allowed on site. Because of that, we're going to be employing most of the workers as from the local area, so we don't need to get anybody driving in and out. Check-in book for official visitors and gov officials and access for IDB local internal drainages, board for land drains. Gates are open and locked, closed and checked by site manager daily. Our out of hours camera systems, entry and exit points. All plant keys locked in manager's office when not in use, signed in and out. Appropriate signage to non-personnel at entrance exits. So will be signage around the hoarding and the main gates. Next to that.
Moving on to our emergency procedures and arrangements. On site, we will categorize emergencies by 3 tiers. Tier 1, our first aider Rosie will deal with tier 1 incidents in the first instant. We have first aid boxes located in the site office and one in the rest area, as well as the incident logbook. Tier 2 is where employees will have to go to the hospital, and tier 3 is where emergency services need to enter the site. The local hospital is 10 minutes away, but it is expected that emergency services can get to the site in 5 minutes, and the local firehouse is 10 minutes away in the opposite direction. These emergency plans and illustrated maps will be outlined in the site induction, but also placed on the welfare bulletin board. In the case of a fire, all personnel are to evacuate to the safety point on the verge outside the site exit on Holt Arch Road. We will have one person liaising with each individual emergency services to avoid confusion. Rosie, as a health and safety executive, will deal with the ambulances. Blairam, as the fire marshal, will deal with the firefighters. And as project manager, I will liaise with the police in the case of any break-ins. We will have several fire extinguishers located on site, a few of which are highlighted on the map. And fire alarms and carbon monoxide detectors will be located in the canteen and another by the material storage unit. In your safe system of work packs in front of you, you will also find the completed fire safety plan, emergency plan, risk assessment and contact details we completed after visiting the site. Depending on what feedback is given, we will change and edit our emergency procedures accordingly before any work commences. But for employees after their brief initial briefing to site, these packs will also be available to them to read through if need be.
The site system of work. As you can see, we've got RAMs in place and training certification to prove competent traffic on site, dust control and mask lift fitting and movement plan. What we're doing is develop a safe working method, implement a safe working method, monitor the safe system of work and working method. Next slide.
Hi everyone. Throughout the project's life cycle, we're going to be following all government guidelines in relation to wildlife and encountering endangered or protected species. We're going to carry out surveys prior to works commencing. These will be conducted by a qualified ecologist and will take place at the correct time of year in order to provide accurate results depending on what the survey is for. The results of these surveys will be recorded and kept in the site office for information. Possible ecological constraints include, but aren't limited to, potential bat roosts in the beech tree at the new car park entrance. This is unlikely due to the age of the tree, but it is possible. Bird nests could also be present in the tree and in the hedgerow on the east side of the car park. There is a potential for great crested newt to be in the watercourses to the north and west of the site, but we aren't going to be interacting with these, so they shouldn't be affected. We'll do a secondary survey of the Japanese knotweed present on site to establish if it has spread any further since the time of the initial survey. And speaking of Japanese knotweed, I'll now pass over to Abby to speak more on invasive species.
Thank you, Shores. So following on from the pre-construction information provided to us, we are aware of the Japanese knotweed on site. Our initial visit to the site, we undertook a brief survey to check for any other commonly found non-native invasive species, which I have listed on the screen, such as giant hogweed or giant kelp. But we also wanted to get a further understanding of the extent of the Japanese knotweed. Section 14 of the Wildlife and Countryside Act classified Japanese knotweed as an invasive species, primarily due to the structural damage it causes, as it is strong enough to penetrate foundations and the fact it can grow up to 20 millimeters per day. So it is a bit of a nightmare in construction projects. Japanese knotweed infected soil can also contain rhizome, which is an undergroup like stem on which they can grow. So we are very eager to prevent it spreading, and we are being thorough in our approach to it. We have liaised with the local statutory bodies regarding this invasive species, and protective fencing will be put up in the first instance to keep people away from it. And then during construction, a competent and qualified personnel shall see to the removal of this plant, ensuring that all of the rhizome is gone so that it doesn't come back, and the waste will be disposed of in the government land site in a timely manner and will be taken away at the end of each day.
Yeah, traffic management plan. As you see, we've put in place a one-way system, separation of pedestrian and vehicles, no reversing on site, all vehicles to be escorted by a banksman, enforced speed limit is 5 miles per hour, no personal vehicles on site, no deliveries directly into site must be left at the gate, exception of diesel delivery management site traffic marshals coming in of the busy road for an easier turn existing via the quiet road to minimize risk and allowing our employees to exit site safety at a reasonable speed.
Moving to document control, we have one delegate person for control, which is who is a document controller who will take care of all the documents on the site. So we are recording all our documents, like which is work permit or hot work permit, or permit to dig if required. So there are a specific file for that. Then we have, plenty of sections. We are having just elaborating one or two. So one is like record for all site safety, site inductions, and our site plan copy will be there, and all employees will record their permits to work as well. So yeah, this is our document control, which we will be recording on site. It will be easy access for all this project team. Yeah. Moving to next.
Moving on to welfare requirements. All the welfare requirements on this project align with the government issued HSE requirements. As you can see in the first column, we have a list of the primarily provided things in the employee canteen, such as cooking facilities and a place to rest. The second column outlines additional welfare facilities such as toilets, a washing facility, changing rooms, first aid room, and a safe location for the use of phones and smoking. Personal need facilities are separated into individual cubicles with locked doors for the safety and privacy of all employees, regardless of gender. And a local cleaning company has been employed to come in to clean these facilities at the end of each day. The final column is a primary list of what is going to be displayed on the notice boards that are situated in both the canteen and office, serving as a reminder to the site induction and rules to employees, but also having the emergency contact information for services and the emergency plans for any scenario. It also has a copy of the public liability form.
So moving on to site rules. So the site rules here, you can see some of them on the screen. So we have the site rules, obviously, to keep employees safe. I've highlighted 3 of our key site rules. So number 2 is work will not commence without a site induction. I will be touching on site inductions a little later on in the slideshow, but this is a really important rule. It's key to all starters or anyone new on site to complete a site induction. This is just to go over safe practice and clear procedures and how to keep safe on site. The second rule I've highlighted is don't undertake any job unless you are competent in doing so. Obviously, if people do take jobs on or take on tasks that they aren't competent in, it can put themselves and others at risk. And obviously we want to avoid this. So we want to make sure that when we set tasks for people that they are confident in doing that task. And the final rule, number 4, not the final rule, but the third rule I've highlighted, report near misses. So with this one, it's obviously very important by reporting a near miss, we can reduce / eliminate an accident happening in the future. When a near miss is reported, I'll go assess the situation, make a change so the near miss won't happen again, and hopefully stopping an accident occurring. So the site rules will be signed, they'll be hung around site, and they'll be in English and other languages required, so everyone has a clear understanding of what the site rules are. So the site induction. So the site induction will be held in the welfare, and we'll do a site induction whenever there's a new person on site. This will happen first thing when they arrive on the working Monday. They will, in the site induction, we'll go over their RAMs and method statements. We'll go through all the site rules and all the controls in place to keep them safe on site. And we will also do a walking tour of the site, and I'll show key locations on the site and facilities, from skips to welfare to toilets to site offices, so they have an understanding of where everything is. We'll also go through emergency procedures and the emergency plan and what to do in case of any injury, minor or small. If it's a minor injury, that would be reporting to me. I assess the situation, I administer first aid, and then hopefully not, but in what the plan is for larger scale injuries. And the site inductions, once they have a clear understanding and all their questions have been answered, they'll sign it, and a copy will be kept in their health and safety file, which will be managed by the document controller in the site office. Next slide, please.
Moving on to site signage. Essentially, what you see on the screen is the majority of signage that we'll be having. On entry to site, we'll have the site safety notice that you can see down the bottom, just laying out the basic site rules and warnings to be aware of. In the welfare and site office, we'll have a health and safety poster, which you can see to the right of the text. Insurance certificates, company health and safety policy. Again, the site safety notice from the entry point will be displayed on the walls, in addition to contact information of the various site management personnel, mental health awareness signs, which Rosie's going to touch on later, and the site plan to the nearest A&E location. In specifics to this site, on specific locations, we'll have Japanese knotweed exclusion signs, which you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, just around the exclusion zone that will be fenced off. And next to that, you can see a asbestos sign, which we're going to display around the redundant factory building. Just basically excluding that whole building from anyone entering it. On permissions and notifications, we'll be liaising with the organisations noted on the screen here, such as Highways England and Forest Commission, to ensure we minimise our impact on the local area. This will also include the council, the local council. The office building on site is still in use, as you know, but we would like to request partial use of the car park here during the construction phase for maintaining our one-way traffic system and for any deliveries that we need to make. Next slide, please.
So onto our mental health policy. So mental health can affect anyone, and it applies to everyone within our company and who works with us and for us. So our initiatives are, firstly, good communication between management and staff. We run an open door policy. We want to know what people are feeling, and if they're feeling too stressed, we want them to feel like they can communicate how they're feeling and what's on their mind to us. That's why we run an open door policy within our company. Secondly, we want to ensure that the staff we train are competent with the tasks they're set. If they're not competent, or don't feel confident enough to do a task, we want them to be able to tell us. We don't want them to feel stress or anxiety in trying to do, or feel the pressure that they have to do a task that they don't feel comfortable with. Mainly for health and, well, firstly, as I said in the site rules, it can be dangerous for them and others, but also it can just add unnecessary stress and anxiety, which we want to avoid in the workplace. We also will provide mental health training and awareness days to help reduce the stigma around mental health in construction, and also encourage conversations and communications around the topic within construction and within the company. And our policy will be reviewed regularly to ensure that it remains relevant and effective. That is our mental health policy. Any questions?
And as is tradition at this point, let's give it a round of applause. Thank you, guys. Right. Okay. Can we open the floor to questions then? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the presentation, guys. That was a very good one. So I'm just curious, yeah. I haven't gone through the presentation. It was made known that there will be no delivery vehicle allowed into this site premises.
Correct.
Now, two questions we arise from that. First, what is the main reason why delivery vehicle is not allowed on this site? Then, if so, what other alternative have you put in place to move usable materials to sites?
Right.
It's not
First of all, we are basically doing groundworks, so we're not going to take that many deliveries. We might take slabs, but that is for the new entrance of the cell. We can drop them there, yeah?
Okay.
The only other stuff I can see coming in is probably bottled water and office supplies, and we can handball those to the office.
Okay. Okay. That's all right. Thank you.
Sorry, Peter, in terms of why we're not having deliveries on site, it's because it's not the biggest building site on the world. We don't have loads of space for having lots of vehicles moving around, and we just think it'll be more hazardous, especially if we have plant equipment moving plus deliveries. It's just, we want to eliminate the hazard or risk.
To avoid collision and clash of activities.
You just want to eliminate any risk there.
Okay, that's all right. Thank you.
Paul, you've got your hand up. What can we
yeah, I had a couple of questions. You mentioned at the beginning that for your tarmac, or you or your subcontractor are going to utilize ex-prison inmates for the work?
Yes.
Have you liaised with local residents and the local school regarding that? Because I'm just a bit concerned some of the parents might have concerns.
We have been reassured by the agency that these are non-violent offenders. Okay? So it means they haven't hit anyone, they're not paedophiles, these are just people who've done something stupid like driving offences, tax evasion. These are the people we're bringing in. We are very conscious of local schools, and we are very conscious of people coming off our site and burglaring the entire area. So we've stipulated the agency who we will accept and who we want. Non-violent offenders.
So they're
Yeah.
low risk.
Minimal risk. We will keep an eye on them. They will be monitored, but we're hoping that the agency is honest with us and they will give us those people we requested.
Well, just
Okay.
jumping in on that, Peter. I spoke to the company and they have been used on other projects around the area. So they were introduced about 6 years ago, and at the beginning, parents were concerned. So every time there is a new offender joining the project, they do go around and introduce themselves to the school board. So the parents on the school board do know who's on the project, and they have worked with them on local projects in the past. So I think the risk there is quite low because they're not a new company and they have been seen out and about over the last 6 years in the area. And they've always done a good job. And as Peter did say, they're low risk offenders. So I think the risk is quite low.
Okay, well, I understand, it's great policy, but just want to check you've done that liaison, which is great.
Yeah, I've
the
got
other-
contact with them. So any
Yeah.
issue, we can chat with them in the first instance.
Okay, the other question was, you mentioned about storage of containers and cosh on site, which is going to be kept locked out of working hours. Have you liaised with the local fire authority about getting access to the site should there be a fire outside of working hours?
Right, there is a sign with my name and my telephone number on it at our points. If there is a break-in, they will contact me. My information is available at least 2 positions on site. If there
Okay.
is a break-in on site, we will probably be the first people to see it in the morning, to be honest. No one's going to walk past and go, oh, I'll hit 999. There's a guy over there nicking a digger. It's never going to happen, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
I've got-
fire. It's if there's a fire outside of working hours, is what I was concerned about.
I'm sure the smoke will come up, but because it's well away from everybody, it will just be the container. It will be the same as a skip fire. And as a rule, the fire service don't take a lot of notice of them. They will
No,
come
no.
out, they will hose it down, but that's about it.
Okay.
Next question, Jared.
Yeah, just on your list of PPE, it doesn't detail the use of high-vis vests. I'm just wondering if you can explain that to me.
Right, most of our staff will be inside plant machinery. And there is no requirement in law for people inside a moving vehicle to wear a high vis. I know it sounds silly.
So there's no high-vis vests on your site then, is that what you're saying?
There is, and we did make them available. We do operate a 5-point. I am surprised that isn't on there.
Okay.
Don't think we wrote it specifically, but we have all.
I mean,
the
you mentioned hard hats, boots, gloves, but no high-vis.
Jared, in the Safe System of Work document, there is a definitive list of what
Okay, I'm not seeing
PPE is.
The Safe System of Work
It's-
was sent over previously. We're just waiting for the feedback, and of course, any feedback you bring back to us, such as if we haven't outlined something, although high vis is in there, we will edit that accordingly before construction begins.
Okay, I've got another question. On the site plan, your cost storage is in front of your material storage. How do you plan to access your material storage?
That is a general location at the moment.
Okay.
It's not an exact location because we haven't put them in, but it will be moved away. It's one of those things that we can't do until we're on site.
Okay.
Can
Also,
you
I think
put
the-
that-
One more question. You say all vehicles, it specifically says all vehicles are to be escorted by a banksman. How will you manage this if multiple vehicles turn up at the same time as to not block the road? If you have to have, how many banksmen are you going to have? How are you going to escort multiple? I mean, if you're talking 7 o'clock in the morning and 15 cars turn up, how do you manage that?
We have in place that our delivery companies will contact the site manager before they plan to drop, so we can arrange that we won't have deliveries arriving up.
What
to
about
delivery.
site personnel? Because it says all vehicles here.
As I said, the site personnel we'll have our site personnel come to site before work, and then all deliveries will be planned and arranged with the site managers, so there is no clash in that
Oh,
respect.
Okay, so basically it's all deliveries are to be escorted by a banksman then, as opposed to all vehicles.
We'll also have reduced personnel vehicles on site. We don't want every man turning up in it with a car because there's reduced space on site.
We're going to encourage car sharing and also people to get the train and walk, because as I said, again, it is a small site, and so we will encourage our guys to turn up in a car share to reduce site traffic towards the site.
Okay.
That's also outlined in our environmental policy, so less pollution if we're all sharing.
I've got another question. It mentions, I don't know if it was on the site plan or someone mentioned it, but initially I've written down that you were going to use Harry's fencing, but then later on it says that you're going to use a 2-meter wooden hoarding.
So the 2-meter wooden hoarding is around the exterior perimeter of the site. The Harris hoarding, which is around the interior of the building. So we've got 2 hoardings up. We've got the outer layer for the public, so they aren't able to see, well, they aren't, that's where if someone could load the map up, it might be easier to explain. We have the timber hoarding is the exterior, and then we have the hoarding around the old building, which is Harris hoarding.
Yeah, okay.
Does that clear that up for you?
Yeah, so as Rosie was saying, the 2-meter fence is this bigger blue line, and then the other fencing is
Okay, yeah.
and then there'll be a third type of fencing around the Japanese knotweed as well until we can remove it safely.
Just looking at that map there on the bottom there, you've got a pedestrian walkway. Why does that not travel around the site? How are you going to manage pedestrians on site? Because the walkway is just along the bottom. How do you, and all your materials? Sorry.
If you go on to our site security, we do have someone on the gate. So any visitor will be escorted by the person on the gate, or they will be walkie-talkied to get a site manager to escort. So any site visitors will always be met at the gate by a site manager to escort them. They'll be given their own coloured hard hat to make it visible that it is a visitor. So that's how we'll escort the member of public. Will always have an escort on.
I was just sort of more referring to the site operatives, because generally on maybe not on something as small as this, but you would always have walkways for site operatives, because they're also pedestrians, and site managers and health and safety officers, whoever want to walk around site. You don't seem to be detailing any.
Yeah, if I may add to that, I think I think it's more appropriate according to the CDM regulation for pedestrian walkway to be clearly defined, because take a look at a situation where we have a visitor on the site, and probably the site manager that is expected to walk a visitor, anybody around, is quite busy with one or two of the site workers, maybe giving out instruction or in the middle of a very critical aspect of the job. So you don't want to keep a visitor waiting for a very long time before the site manager comes to his head to walk him around the site or get to a specific point. But if the pedestrian access have been clearly defined, they can all see it and follow the footpath to avoid confusion. Just addition to that.
I think, Jared, the pedestrian way that's along the bottom of the site should extend all the way up the western side of the site into the site office and around. I think the omission of that is just a clerical error at this stage.
It's not clearly defined on the drawing. Yeah. But it's okay. All right.
Got time for one more? I've got one more question.
I'll carry on with mine. I had just a quick one, and apologise if I missed it. I did pick up on the fact he spoke about the evacuation point on site. Outside. We're kind of confirm on average, I know it'll change daily, how many workers are actually going to be in the site, and how do we actually account for them in the event of emergency? I apologise if I did miss that.
I'll answer that one. Generally about 6, and each day when they that's me. Generally about 6 people. When they arrive on site, they will sign in. The daily sign-in book will be taken to the assembly area and names called.
Okay, thank you very much. That's simple.
The reason the staff levels are so low, Kenny, is it's mostly a mechanised approach that we're using, so that keeps the men down on site.
Thank you.
Shall we give that a round of applause and a final round of applause? I think we should. I think we should. Well done, guys. Well done. Right, let me just stop the recording. Back on your fruity language just for a few more moments. There